Hey friends! It's no wonder that we have such high expectations, unrealistic ones at that. Look who raised us. No, I'm not talking about your parents. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, you probably read Twilight in your yesteryears, formative years. And as far as today goes, Twilight still seems to be loved by teens and young adults today. And I'd like to know why. On the one hand, I'm grateful that kids are still reading books today. But on the other hand, I am so disappointed in this younger generation that they haven't learned from their elders' mistakes and still call Jacob a werewolf. I'm just a very intense and passionate person whose light-hearted and not serious irritation can come off as acting mad sometimes. And I know that it's just a book and a film franchise, and it's not that serious. So don't get y'all's panties up in a wad coming at being like, oh, it's just a book, calm down, la 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 la. I know, y'all. I'm just very dramatic sometimes and have a tendency to, what do you want? I got an email. Sometimes I have a very loud and dramatic way of expressing myself. Anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. Now what do you want? I don't even know people. Like, why am I getting emails? Anyway, me in the ass. Let's get back to the main point of this video. So for the past year, I took the time to reread the entire Stephenie Meyer's Twilight Saga, as well as the film installments. But I'm going to be focusing more today on the book series because Twilight was initially a book series. And it's at the forefront of my mind because the book material is more fresh in my current memory at the moment. I can recall moments of the film more easily. I used to hold the notion that the books didn't get universal hate until the movies came out because the films did not do the books justice at all. But after spending a year and a half in the literary Twilight verse, I've realized the books are just as problematic as the movies. Ergo, Twilight in general is just wrong. Now, it would take me forever to go into detail about every single specific thing that I find wrong with it, and I'm more at risk of going on a tangent when I try to point out every single flaw of something. So I'm just gonna point out the most insane aspect of each individual Twilight book. Starting with Twilight, then to New Moon, and then to Eclipse, and ending with Breaking Dawn. Now, of course, inexperienced little teenage me, when reading the first Twilight book, that Bella and Edward, they were toxic from the start, from their very first conversation. I don't remember the specifics of the early conversations, but it seems that one of them would say something not warranting the toxic response at all. Now, I know that they're teenagers, at least the quotations for Edward. There seems to be a trope of teenagers in fiction that win the apple of their eye over by being sarcastic or making offhanded remarks as jokes, and they just hey, giggle, giggle, giggle. Like, no, that's not cute. That's not how you win people over. Teach your kids that potential lovers need to be kind and create a bond over positive experiences. Laughing together, making sweet memories, not making remarks saying, oh,
you look so lame in that shirt. Kidding.
Yeah, you're right. It is kidding. It's childish. That's what kids do. Which, is, granted what at least Bella still is. But Edward, he's like 100 years old. 107? I don't remember the exact number. He's a century old. He's too old to be acting like that. And a note about the movie, I just want to know why, oh why? Kristen Stewart was cast as Bella. Now, I have really tricky feelings for Kristen Stewart as an actress, because there are some roles that her dry, unbothered presentation suits really well, but others like Bella Swan, that ain't one of them. If you've read the books, it's easy to tell that Bella is reserved, but she is super tender and loving to the people that she cares about the most. And Kristen Stewart just did not bring that energy to the films. Reserved does not always equal detached. Kristen Stewart is reserved and detached. And that makes me think, well, what am I, pirate? And that makes me think. And that makes me think that she was just solely cast based on her look. fair skin, brown hair. All the makeup department had to do was just pop in some brown contacts and she was good to go, which I'm sure the makeup department was quite on board with because they had a handful of actors to make up to resemble immortal blood drinkers. They were probably glad not to take on another. Ignored red flags from the very beginning. Bad casting choice for the main character. Let me say that again. The main character. I can't think off the top of my head who would have been a better choice, at least an it girl of that time. If you agree with me as far as a miscast, let me know in the comments who you think should have been casted as Bella in the Twilight films. I need to move up my chair. And as for New Moon, of course, that's when Edward breaks up with Bella, leaving her super duper uber depressed. Which is why you should have hobbies outside of your relationship. Teach that to your kids. You gotta have something else in life that fulfills you besides your partner. Now, I know first heartbreaks are really any heartbreak is hard, but especially the first one. And just because it's normal doesn't mean that it feels good. Now, I blame Charlie for that one. Parent who had sole custody of her at this point. I sound like a child advocate right now. I used to work in education, so it was kind of my expertise for a while. The well-being of young people. I mean, I still advocate for it, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking about it with you today. Now, her mother's not so great either, but let me just go on a tangent about Charlie for 1 sec. It wasn't until New Moon that I realized what a deadbeat dad Charlie is. I mean, I recognized he wasn't like super present in the first book. And he is just kind of a grump. That's just his personality. And he's not a really very feely guy. He's one of those macho men that's just wrapped up in his little burrito of toxic masculinity and doesn't take accountability for anything. If I remember correctly, he was kind of almost encouraging, not overtly, subtly encouraging Bella to get together with Jacob after Jacob and Bella started spending a little time together. It's like, the last thing that your child needs right now is to be set up with someone that you approve of. She needs professional help. Not that he would have thought of that anyway, but he just could have been a little bit more involved, just a little bit more supportive while his daughter was drowning in heartache. And if you're confused about the not taking accountability part, that's mainly due to the intense hatred that he harbors for Edward upon the Cullens' return to Forks. He blames Edward, a 17-year-old, who was moving away with his family, for his daughter's depression. Like, dude, it's partially your fault for not stepping in sooner. Well, yeah, the reason Bella was depressed is because Edward broke up with her. It takes two to tango here, man. And also something that, this isn't specific to just New Moon, this is specific for the whole series. Bella really hates being celebrated. Like with her birthday and her graduation and her wedding. She throws like actual tantrums about people loving on her and showing how grateful they are to have her in their lives. Like, can you show a little bit of gratitude, girl? It's one thing to be embarrassed and shy and not like the spotlight and feeling like you don't deserve it, but it's another. I don't know why I just pointed like that. I'm not pointing to anything specific. I'm just to get snappy at people for having events that say to you, hey, I'm proud of you. I'm glad that you exist. You know, events you don't deserve. There are so many people that would be happy to have events thrown like that for them. I'm just saying, y'all, it's not common to have people in your life like that go to great lengths to show you they love you that much and want to celebrate you big. Just gracefully say thank you and just blush a little bit. Charlie, not a great role model. Bella's depression didn't have to go on as long. If he would have just done his job as a dad and intervened and find someone that could help her if he couldn't. You know, someone like a professional. I am a very big advocate for therapy and I always will be, and I will stand unswaying by that. Now, a very big problem that I have with Jacob, before we start talking about Eclipse, the biggest red flag that I got from Eclipse, the fact that he calls Bella honey. When Edward left is when they started hanging out a bit here and there is when he first started calling her Bella. He'd be like, Bella honey, Bella honey, Bella honey. And he continued to do it long after Edward came back into the picture. And I don't understand how no one that I knew back then or to this day have pointed it out. I mean, like, it's just so inappropriate to me to call someone that's not your lover or your child honey or any other sweet pet name. I mean, I say honey in a joking way, like not to anyone specific, but just like honey. I do it all the time here on this channel and in my real life, but I'm not calling anyone specific honey. That's an exception as well. I just wanted to recoil and throw up in my mouth every time I read him calling her Bella, which is, I think, the greatest segue into the #1 red flag that I spotted in Eclipse. The way that Jacob relentlessly tries to come on to Bella to get her to love him, despite her getting back together with Edward. It is so irksome and makes me worried for all the Jacob teammates out there. And I also stand unswaying by this, that Bella has made it very clear from the very beginning that she loves Jacob as a brother and nothing more. But I wholeheartedly believe that his pushiness and attempts to manipulate her into getting her to leave Edward for him kind of brainwashed her into thinking that she was in love with both of them. Just because you share one kiss doesn't necessarily mean you like the person. You just liked the kiss. You liked the experience. So, to all the Jacob lovers out there, tell me what your love life is like today. I think it would be a really cool thing to do, a little social experiment, to see that those who are either Team Jacob or Team Edward are faring today in their love lives. I was a psychology major in college, so that kind of shit's fun for me. Now, lastly, Breaking Dawn. Breaking Dawn is, well, Jacob, Renesmee. You get where I'm going? Renesmee, she's, a baby. I know that technically they won't be together until she's legal. And this seems to be a thing with all the other shapeshifters. That's what I was getting on about earlier when I was talking about you shouldn't be calling Jacob a werewolf because he's not a werewolf. He's a shapeshifter. Werewolves take their form at midnight during a full moon. Shapeshifters phase at will, which is what Jacob and the rest of the pack do. But I had always just been so unsettled at young men imprinting on actual babies. I don't know, if I was a mom and someone imprinted on my baby girl, I would be like, no, you can't see her at all. You can't see her at all until she is 18. Like, you can't look at her, you can't be near her. Restraining order. And you've imprinted, so it's not like she's gonna fall in love with someone else in the meantime. But I don't want the imprinter around my daughter while she is a baby. I don't care if it's not romantic yet. My eyes cannot unsee the two of you as a married couple already. One of the couple being a literal child. So even though no inappropriate stuff takes place between the wolves and the imprintees, it's just a little bit of an unsettling process for me to process. Stephenie Meyer's whole imprinting theory. Not accusing Stephenie Meyers of anything, of course. I'm sure she's a good woman generally, but it's just a weird process to come up with. But hey, like with all the points that I made, it's just a story. It's a work of fiction, so it's not going to kill me, and I can mind my own business. But anyway, this little rant is over. Again, this was all in good fun. I wasn't throwing an actual tantrum. I know that many people love the Twilight series, but it's just amazing to me how certain things to me have stuck out to me now as an adult that I didn't catch up on in my younger years when I was a twihard. But with maturity and wisdom, I have the knowledge and the courage to say that certain things about the Twilight storyline is toxic, cringe, and just a little bit uncomfortable. Now, I spent a whole year and a half rereading the series and watching the movies, and if you're bored with your life and you're looking for something to do, then I challenge you to do the same. If you're a retired Twihard like me, to revisit the Twiverse in the same way. I mean, you don't have to do it in a year, that's just personally how long it took me to fully jump back in and re-experience it again. You can do it on your own time and at your own pace. Or if you've already done that, leave me a comment below and let me know what your experience was and what you just realized is weird and problematic. After jumping back into the Twilight Saga for a second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, after jumping back into the Twilight Saga again. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and
Subscribe!
Because I am holding myself accountable for a couple of actionable goals on this channel. When I reach a certain amount of subscribers, that will be in the description box. So find wherever it says subscribe on your screen and take your little bitty finger or a mouse, if you have one, and then you just go bing or bing. And did you know that it's supposed to notify you every Friday I upload? Ain't that so cool? That's all, folks. Bye.